Right? So last week, we had reached here. We were finding the inverse of functions. I'm going to change up the questions a little bit today because I don't want to do the same exact questions from last week. It's just a few people, not a few people, a lot of people were a little bit, after I finished the inverse of functions, they were still scratching their heads and not too sure how to go about it. So let's clear it up. So let's start off with the first question. I've changed the first question. You've been given the function fx, right? So we've been given that function, and I changed up the values. And the aim of the question is to find the inverse of the function f. As you may have remembered, the symbol for the inverse of a particular function is the letter of the function with a little -1. That means what? To find the inverse of x. So let's go ahead. Let's go through the procedure. Whenever you're finding the inverse of a function, well, I have all these steps here. Step 1. Well, the first thing we're really supposed to do is just write back the function that they gave you. So the function it was given to us was fx is equal to 4x plus 6. So everyone write back the function. I didn't do anything amazing as yet. All I did was write back the same exact function that they gave us. The first official step after that is to change the letter fx to y. Remember last week I was telling you all fx and the letter y for all CSEC purposes are the same exact thing. It's the same exact thing. So to make it a little easier on the eyes, the fx, I'm going to throw that away and replace it with the letter y. Everyone do that for me. So we're following the first official step. Change the letter fx to y. Then we move on to the second step. The second step was a little thing with the little magical songs. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to sprinkle it. You'll remember what we would sprinkle it with it last week. We would sprinkle it with what? Magic dust, right? So the magic dust, right? So we're going to sprinkle the magic dust on this. And remember what the magic dust or fairy dust, or whatever you want to call it, look at what it does. The magic dust switches x and y. In other words, all the x's in the question will magically change to y, and all the x and all the y's will magically change to what? X. So look at this here. We sprinkle the dust. Let's get the sound effects going. Right? So this y will change to an x, and all the x's will change to what? Y. So it's a little switching, right? X's change to y, y changes to x. So we're finished with step 2. Everyone take that down. If you want to put the magic dust, feel free to make it look a little fun and whatnot. Great. Now, you all notice something. Before you sprinkle the dust, look up here. You all notice who was the subject. You all notice y is the subject. Well, when you say something is a subject, like the letter y, it means y alone is on one side and everybody else is on the other side. But after you sprinkle the magic dust, right, you all notice who's the subject? Isn't x the subject now? The x is the subject. But according to 3, we're supposed to make back who the subject? Y the subject. So I'm running out of space here, right? To make y the subject, so let's write back this here. X is equal to 4y plus 6. We're going to try to get y on one side and everyone else on the other side. Now, I think I mentioned this in the homework. I'm not too sure, but you could correct me if I'm wrong. Whenever I say to make something the subject, like the letter y, it really doesn't matter which side y is on. He just has to end up on one side by himself. So the y could end up on this side of the equal sign by himself, or it could end up on this side by himself. It doesn't really matter. But y is already on this side, so I'm going to keep him on this side. So I'm going to throw across positive 6. By now, everyone should know when you throw across positive 6, you will get what? Minus 6. But y is still not the subject. You have to get rid of Mr. 4 there. Remember, what is there in between the 4 and the y? There's a secret what? Multiply. And when you throw across the multiply, everybody on this side gets divided by 4. So you write one big divide sign to show that you're dividing this whole thing by 4. You all notice you all just made y the subject. Look, y alone is on one side and everyone else is on the other side. Now, if this makes you uncomfortable, like you're not accustomed seeing y on the right-hand side, you could switch it around, you can just put the y here. Right? Everyone could trade places. Well, when you do a full trade, like everybody comes across on this side and everyone goes across on the other side, you could just switch it without making the signs the opposite. Right? So I think more people would be happier with the y being on the left-hand side. And what's the last step now? Once you make y the subject, you can erase the y now. Like you can just scratch it off and put what now? F inverse x. So I just scratch off this y. I put F inverse x is equal to x minus 6 divided by 4. And that's the end of the question. This is the inverse of f. Don't worry, we have a good few other examples to do today. I'm going to keep changing it until everyone, gets really accustomed to it. Let's say that we get to erase this, and let's write a brand new question for fx, right? How about we put fx is equal to, I'm going to see if I can trick you here. 5 minus 8x. You think you all can do that? But that is not a trick. See if you all can do that one for me. Find the inverse of f now. Follow all the steps, one by one. Case for them. So we're going to write back fx. So let me write back fx. Fx is equal to 5 minus 8x. Right? Some terrible handwriting there. And let's fix that up. So what we're supposed to do, according to step 1, we're supposed to change fx to y. So let me do that. Go to change fx to y. Nothing too amazing there. But then we go to what? The magic dust. We're going to switch the x and y. So apply the little magic dust here. Get a little sound effects here. All right. So when you switch the x and y, the y will change to x, and the x will change to y. How much people got up to there? Like you're good so far. Right, good so far. So now we have to make back who the subject. Y. You notice x is the subject, but we want to make back who the subject. Y. So let's begin to, let me write it back up here. Now, what you could do, remember, we want to make back y the subject. So a lot of people will just start to throw across positive 5x to get what? Minus 5x. And you'll be left with minus 8y on this side. Remember, this minus sign belongs to the 8, and the 8 is connected to the y. Last on the list now, the minus 8 is a multiply. You throw it across and you get what? A divide. So when you do that, you would have made who the subject? Y. Once you make y the subject, you can scratch it off if you want and put what? F inverse x. Now there are two possible answers, right? If you don't have my answer, don't get scared yet. There are two possible answers. You see, You see how I kept y on this side and I throw everyone else on the left-hand side? Some people might have taken the whole minus 8y and throw it across on the other side. There are two possible answers. Here's the other possible answer, and it's just as correct. If you had minus x plus 5 on top and positive 8 underneath. How much people had the green answer? Remember, minus x plus 5 is the same thing as 5 minus x. You could have had the 5 first. This is correct, and this one is correct. Both of them are correct. Because there are two ways you can transpose it. How much people got it correct with either the top answer, with the x minus 5, or minus x plus 5, and the underneath was positive 8. Both of them are correct. Right? So I guess you're all seeing where the homework is coming in, right? Transposing. That was video 5, 6, and 7. How those videos help you with, right? Remember, when you throw across and multiply, like when I was throwing across this multiply, remember we said it over and over in the videos. When you throw across and multiply, it becomes a divide, but the sign does not change. The sign does not change. Hence, it remains minus 8. All right, so let's try a harder question now, right? And remember, when you throw across positive 5, remember this 5 is really positive. When you throw across positive 5, you get minus 5. All right, so let's get ready to move on. Let's go on to the harder ones where you have to find the inverse, but you're going to be what? Forced to cross multiply. Let's move on to the next slide here. Right. So let me change up the question because last week I had asked you to find G inverse. So let me change up the blue question here a little bit for you guys. Right. Let's move this out here. How about we put 8 minus x divided by 5? Let's try this one. Let's work this one out together. We're going to find the inverse of gx. So let's start off with writing back the function. So we write back what? Gx is equal to 8 minus x divided by 5. Everyone do that for me. That's always the first thing. You just write back the function the examiner gave you. Right. The next step now, the step that's the easiest. You change the gx to what? Y. That step, the official step. Change fx or gx or hx or whatever the name of the function is to y. So put it as y. All right. Everybody with me so far? We just did step 1. Step 2. We're going to sprinkle the magic dust, right? And remember what the magic dust does. It just switches the x and the y. So I have limited space. So let me see if I could. Let's see. Sprinkle the magic dust here. Get the. Right, so we sprinkle it, sprinkle. Right. So all the y's are going to change to what? X. And all the x's are going to change to what? Y. Take down up to there. We just sprinkled the magic dust. Great. So once we reach here, you'll notice y is not the subject. So let me write it back up here. You have x. I got a different color. It's a horrible color. You have x is equal to 8 minus y divided by 5. So we want to make back who the subject, y. Now we have a kind of fraction on this side because of the huge divide sign. And we know x from last week. X is the same thing as x divided by 1. What we're going to do, we're going to what? Cross multiply. So last week I showed you how to cross multiply. Which diagonal are you all going to multiply first? Well, which one did I recommend last week? Should we do the green one first or the red one? We should do what? The green one first, right? Remember, I had advised last week that we should always do the one that has x first, right? It doesn't make it more correct or anything. It just makes life a little bit easier. So let's multiply the green diagonal first. X by 5 is 5x. And then we do what? The red diagonal. Well, lucky for us, and anything multiplied by 1 is itself, 8 minus y. When we multiply by 1, we will get itself. We know that from primary school, right? When you multiply anything by 1, you get back itself. Right. So next, we want to make back who the subject, y. That's the last step, right? We have to make back y the subject. Now, to me, there are plenty ways to get this out. But to me, the easiest way to make back positive y the subject, couldn't we just throw across minus y on this side and it will become positive 5? And then we could take what? Positive 5x and throw it on the other side and it will become minus 5x. So let's do that now. To me, that's the easiest thing to do. Throw across minus y, we get positive y. We throw across positive 5x, we get minus 5x. You all notice y is the subject. We're almost finished, right? We're almost finished. Throw away the y and put what now? G inverse x. So this is the symbol for the inverse of g. And put it equal to 8 minus 5x. Right? It's very important to note how powerful cross multiplication is. Remember last week I stated, cross multiplication allows you to take a question with fractions in it. And when you cross multiply it, it becomes a level or flat, normal, boring question, which is easy to handle. I want to make this question a little bit harder because you all notice that this question only has one set of x's. I want to explain how the question will get a little bit more difficult if we put in 2 sets of x's. Let me know when you guys are ready to move on. Give me a few seconds just to change it up a little bit, right? It takes a little while to change it. Right, so on top, I want to let's put 3 minus, or let's make it 3 plus 4x, and underneath, I'm going to put 5x. Just a slight difference. You all notice that I have 2 sets of x, right? I'm not going to change anything, right? Gx is equal to 3 plus 4x divided by 5x. What are we going to do? We're going to take the gx and change it to what? Y. Right? Gx, just change it to y. Nothing else, nothing amazing so far. Great. Now it's time to sprinkle the magic dust, right? That's step 2, right? So when we sprinkle the magic dust, we're going to what? All the y's will change to x. But you all notice you have 2 x's. Will both x's change to y, or will only one change to y? Well, what do you all think? Right, Sahana, correct, Carissa, right? Both of them, right? The rules are simple. Any y's you see, change to x. If you have a million x's, all of them will change to what? Y. Okay? So let's do this. We sprinkle the magic dust, right? All right, sorry for keep doing this, but it will make it stick in your head, right? The y will change to x, and the x's will change to y. Take down up to there. Now here's the thing, right? Once you make that change, look at the step 3. You have to make back who the subject. Why? Now, let's just pause a little bit and ask ourselves, what does that mean? If you want to make back why the subject, right? If you want to make back why the subject, that means y alone must be on one side and everyone else must be on the other side. So there's going to be a little bit of a problem because there are 2 sets of y, and we're going to have to do what? Try to get both sets of y on one side. You all remember how we did that last week? The technique is going to start with the letter F. Do you all remember the name of the technique? Like when you have more than one letters and you want to isolate the letters, it starts with the letter F. Now, guys, when I'm teaching today, I have to assume that you was here last week. And of course, if you missed last week, the assumption is that you went through the recordings. That's the only way the class is going to make progress, right? So that's my assumption today. Okay, great. So factorization is the name of the technique. So let's get ready to factorize. We have to not factorize, cross multiply. Remember, x is the same thing as x on 1, right? We're going to have to cross multiply to level it to one level. Which diagonal are we going to multiply first? The yellow or the blue? Which one? I'm going to keep asking these annoying questions because I want it to stick in your head, right? But I don't purposely mean to come off as annoying, right? But I can't help it, it seems. All right, the yellow, because the yellow contains the x. So let's multiply the x by the 5y. How much is x multiplied by 5y? Well, we know that is what? Let me get yellow. I'm going to put it in yellow. Won't that give us 5xy? It doesn't matter if I have it mixed up. Like if x multiplied by 5y, if I have x5y, you all know by now it doesn't really matter. When you're multiplying 2 things, like you're slapping the letters and the numbers together, when you're multiplying it, the order really doesn't matter. Put an equal sign. Then you multiply the other diagonal. That's the kind of reddish diagonal. So we're going to take 3 plus 4y and multiply it by 1. That's the blue diagonal. Like I mentioned before, when you multiply anything by 1, you're going to get back itself. So you're going to get 3 plus 4y. Everyone take down up to there. Right, so answers are coming up. Yes, now. I'm reading the answers, but remember, guys, whenever you have to make back y the subject, it means y alone must be on one side and everyone else on the other side. But we have a little bit of a problem here. You'll notice we have 2 sets of y. We have a y here, we have a y here. We need all the y's on one side. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come up with a rule that once you have a letter y attached to you, you belong on the left-hand side. We're going to try to, group all the y's on one side. So you see Mr. Positive 4y here? Let's just throw him across. So you're going to end up with 5xy minus 4y is equal to 3. Let me know, are we good up to there? That we are trying to isolate the y's. So the first step is to get anybody, once they have a y attached there, I don't care if you have x attached there, I don't care if you have y, the number 5 attached to you. Once you are affiliated with the letter y, you belong on the left-hand side. Good, right? Is it possible to squish these two together? Is it okay to say 5xy minus 4y is 1? Is it okay to do that? Right, from the homework, you guys know that that is not correct because the letter types are different. XY is completely different to what? Y. But we still need to isolate the y. So we're going to factorize out the y. Remember last week, what I told you factorizing is, you look at the two items and you say, hey, both of them have the letter y. How about pulling out the y from both of them? But what does pull out y mean? It means you're secretly visiting everybody and dividing them by whatever you are pulling out. Now, if you're pulling out y, you write the letter y and the brackets. This y will cancel out with this y will cancel out with this y, which is 5x minus 4. You essentially literally pull out y from both of them and write it outside because y is common to both of them. This is equal to what now? 3. What do we have in between here and here? A secret, multiply. You see how easy it is to isolate the y now? We only have one y after we factorize all the y's. So when you throw across this whole brackets, which is a multiply, when you throw across a multiply, you get what? A divide. The whole bracket is a multiply at the same time. And once you make back y the subject, you can scrape out the y and put what? G inverse x. The question is finished. Right? So once again, because you had a y here and a y here, the y was common to both of them. You can write the y once. You extract the y and you'll remain with 5x and 4. Right? Remember, there was a 3 in the question. It was here from quite on top here, right? Remember, we throw across the positive 4y to get minus 4y, and we left the 3 on this side. The 3 was at the beginning of the question, right? So, right? This 3 is this 3, this 3 is this 3, right? I just changed the color of the 3. All these 3s are the same 3. Let's say, I just saying, if you, in terms of letters, if I had 7xp minus 2p, now, obviously, we cannot combine these two because this has an X and this has a P, and this one only has a P. The letter types are different. What is common between the two of them? And what letter is common between the two of them? The letter P, right? So here's the thing. To make factorization easy, if you spot that both of them have a similar letter, you just write that letter on the outside, put your brackets. If you pull out P from here, like you literally take your hand and pull it out, and you'll be left with the 7x only. And if you have 2p here, and you take the p away, and you'll only be left with the 2, that is essentially factorization. But whatever you're pulling out, the common item you're pulling out, I know the p appears twice. But when you pull it out, you just only write it what? Once. Try the next one up here. If I have 8km minus, I don't know, 3k. What would the answer be if I factorize that? Ask yourself, what is common between the both of them? What can I pull out and write once? Write the final answer, the factorized answer. right? Now you have to write back the letter K. You have to write back the letter K on the outside. Right. So the answer for this one is, since the K is similar to both of them, you say, all right, I'm going to pull out the K, and what will I be left with here? The 8 and the M. So 8M here, and if I pull out the K from here, I'll be left with the 3. Right? So that's a little shortcut, I guess, the factorizing very, very quickly. Let's change up the question, and let's try another one, right? Let's change up the question, right? And by the way, factorization is limited to one side of the equal sign. Like if you're factorizing, like how this equal sign, right? You see how it have y's on both sides of this equal sign? You can only factorize one side of the equal sign at a time. When you're factorizing, the other side of the equal sign does not interfere with what is going on the other side of the equal sign. So I hope that answers the question, right? Someone had asked that question. So let's change up this a little bit. Oops, I got a different color. Right? 1 second, guys. Let me see. How about we have 3x minus 6 divided by, I got a different thing here. 2x, try that one. Find the inverse of g for me. I'm giving you all a 5 minutes head start. So we're gonna go with right back. Well, I think by now we know we have to change the gx to y. So to save a little bit of space, I'll just change the what? Gx to y one time. I'm not changing much there. Right, so this changed to y. Then we what? Sprinkle the magic dust on it. Let's see what happens. Now we have 2 sets of x's here. So both of them have to change to what? Y. So let's do that. So this y will change to x. And both x's here will change to y. Great. But we have to make back who the subject now, y. But we have 2 sets of y. So we know we're going to have to factorize at some point in time. So anyway, I don't like fractions, so we know what to do, how to get rid of the fractions. We cross, multiply. By now, everyone should pick up on the fact that we're going to cross multiply the diagonal with x first, and then the other one. So x multiplied by 2y is 2xy. I'm writing it up here because I'm running out of space. And anything multiplied by 1 is itself. How much people have up to there at least? Let me know. We're good up to there. Great. Next on the list now, we have to make back y the subject. But like I said, we have 2 sets of y. So let's begin to, put all the y's on one side. Once you have a y attached there, we throw in on the left-hand side. So on this side now, we end up with 2xy minus 3y. And I realize some people made a mistake. What's the mistake I just made? I did something wrong there. What did I do wrong? Right, I realized some people, remember this is minus 6. How it changed to positive 6? Remember this minus sign belonged to the 6. It never moved. It had, some people forgot to write back the minus 6. All right, great. So now we could factorize because here has a y and here has a y. So I just showed you, extract the y and you'll be left with 2x and 3. 2x minus 3. And this is equal to -6. What did I have in between here and here? Secret multiply. This whole bracket is a multiply. Throw him across. And you'll get what? A divide. Look at that. We were able to make who the subject. 1 second. We were able to make who the subject. Why? And once you make back y the subject, you can scratch him off and put what? Now there are two answers, huh? Because remember, I cross multiply this diagonal first. Some people might have cross multiply the other one first. Now, if you cross multiply the other one first, there's an alternate answer, which is, it looks different. It's just all the signs will be the opposite. The -6 will be +6, and underneath the signs become opposite too. So you have -2x plus 3. Both of these may look different, but they are mathematically equal, right? They are mathematically equal. So whether you get the first answer or the second answer, it's 100% correct. But the signs must be correct too. Eh? The signs must be correct. Great. So guys, this is basically the last thing I had to show you in function and recording. So the new set of homework is to go back inside lesson 1 in the maths classroom. You all already did the first 7 videos, videos 1 to 7. This is what the whole test is based on today. But the homework, if you scroll down, you will see a lot more videos. You don't need to do all, but take down these here for me. I want you all to do video 10 for me. Make a note, video 10, video 11, 12, 13, and 14. Those are the videos I need you to do. 11 to 14. Right? Right? Last week, there was no homework, right? There was no homework videos, right? All right, so everyone good with me so far? Videos 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And you have a full month to do it, right? If you all want to start factorization, I don't know if you all noticed this, right? You see how I kind of introduce you all to factorization? When you scroll down after 14, it have video 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. And all of them deal with factorization. I'm just saying that's going to be the next set of homework after this homework. So I'm just saying, if you want to get a little head start on it, feel free, because you're going to have to do it in any case. All right, so let's get to the test now, right? So the test is I can stop